Hey, yo everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review. As you can see, it's going to be a Morphonomical Power Ranger review. Today we're going to be reviewing the Legacy Power Ranger weapons. So, although I am wearing the Legacy Power Ranger helmet for the Red Ranger, as well as we have the Morphers and the Wrist Communicators and the Zeonizers and all the other fun stuff, I want to focus mainly on the weapons today. So sit back, relax, enjoy. Let's talk about some Power There's been a total of 5 Legacy weapons thus far. There's the Blade Blaster, the Dragon Dagger, Saba, the Power Sword, and finally the Golden Power Staff, which was recently released and was one of the reasons that inspired me to do this video. And I know that these have been reviewed millions of times by a million different other reviewers. And I am a hardcore Power Ranger fan myself, but I'm not a hardcore Power Ranger reviewer. I focus mainly on comic books. So while I have seen every single season, all the movies, met all the actors, and have more figures than I know what to do with, I don't focus on Power Ranger reviews. So what I'm going to focus on, rather than the actual features of the Legacy item itself, although I'll go through a bit of it, I am going to focus more or less on the lore of the item. Which Rangers used them, which Rangers didn't, the functionality of it, how they were used, the benefits and disadvantages of that particular weapon, and more or less what happened to them, right? So we're going to start things off with the Blade Blaster, which is of course the standard sidearm for all standard Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I say standard because the White Ranger and the Green Ranger didn't have one. Basically, Tommy didn't have one. Although I do believe there's one scene when Tommy first got his powers back, he didn't have the Dragon Dagger, so he was given one as a replacement. But for the most part, this was the sidearm for the standard Rangers. And it was used as a substitute for the Rangers based on their power weapon. Allow me to explain. The Blade Blaster can be used as a melee weapon, or it can be used as a range weapon, right? The power weapons were used as either a melee weapon or a range weapon, depending on what they were. So, for example, Kimberly, who uses a bow, really wouldn't go into melee combat with a bow. I think she did it once or twice, but it wasn't really the thing to do. If she was to go into melee combat and wanted to use a weapon, well, Blade Blaster. Jason, who you had the Power Sword, which didn't shoot any energy projectiles. You could throw it at people, but I mean, it was for the most part just a melee weapon, would use the blaster functionality on this. And with the blaster functionality, he would have his range weapon. The Blade Blasters themselves can also be combined with various different add-ons, mainly the Power Slingers, which would make them more powerful. And they were a little fun sidearm for the Rangers to use, and I have to say one of the best sidearms, although there were a few better. There were a few sidearms that have been released since that I think were a little bit better, but these were really cute. They had nice design to them. I mean, it looks very Mighty Morphin Power Ranger-esque. Very reminiscent of the Tyrannosaurus Dinozord, but it has this 90s beautiful vintage glow to it. And like I said, this could be used one of 2 ways, but it really could be used one of 3 ways. This is his default mode, right? This is how it's holstered. But the Rangers can use this in a final attack, where the 3 male Rangers would stand and the 2 female Rangers would get on their shoulders. They put their Blade Blast together and shoot like a diamond tri-attack, kind of like the trio from Pokemon. So, I mean, apparently the Power Rangers are Pokemons. But in saying that, it was a pretty powerful attack that they would use before they got the power cannon, which was all their weapons put together, the power weapons. The blade mode is, of course, as you can see, the Blade Blaster with its blade extended, and this was used for melee combat. You saw this used more by, I want to say, the Blue Ranger, the Pink Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, more than you would see it from Zach or Jason. Or Adam and Rocket, if you want to say that. But the reason why I'm going to be referencing the original trio, Trini, Zach, and Jason, more than Rocky, Aisha, and Adam, is in no way any disrespect to them. It's just, well, Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, only used their power weapons once. And Adam used it a few times afterwards, and I believe Operation Overdrive, but for the most part, those power weapons were mainly used by the original Rangers. So that's because we had the Sentai footage, but I mean, hey, that's neither here nor there. But like I was saying, you never really saw Jason use this too much. He used it once in a while in his Blade mode, but that was either before he got the Blade Blaster or because happenstance. And of course, you have it finally go into its Blaster mode. And the Blaster mode is, again, very beautiful. I particularly like how it folds out and sticks in. I mean, this pushes in and it makes it a little bit more compact and nice functionality, right? The Blaster mode wasn't used that much either. While the Blade Blaster was the standard sidearm of the Power Rangers' philosophy was not to shoot people. I mean, this isn't Carter from Lightspeed Rescue, where, I mean, everything was a gun. The Power Rangers would use their Blade Blasters in their Blaster mode only every once in a while. And the toy itself, right? And it is a toy, let's be honest. It's really nice. You have the on and off button right here. Makes this noise. The swiping noise. Of course, it would be cooler if you had that out. And of course, it makes the noise when it pops out. And then when you put it into its Blade mode, its Blaster mode, what I particularly like is the rhythm that you shoot the gun is where the explosions would be. So if I go... So it kind of does that pause that I did, so I can do... I thought that was a pretty nice feature. Surprisingly enough, unless I don't know about it, and I'm sure people will, and it makes that nice clicking sound. Surprisingly enough, and a lot of people are probably going to correct me because I'm sure there's going to be a way, it does not play the Power Rangers theme song. Most of the legacy weapons do. So, but the Blade Blaster is a nice legacy weapon to have. I really enjoy it. I think it's more one of the more well-made ones. You got your die-cast meta here. That's one thing that the legacy weapons are known for. And it's just a really good thing to have. You need to have it if you're cosplaying, right? Because every standard Ranger had it. But it's a really beautiful item, and I'm thoroughly in love with it. So, onto the So let's move on to an incredibly popular Power Ranger weapon, and that would be the Dragon Dagger. Everyone loves the Dragon Dagger. You have to be insane not to love it. I love the Dragon Dagger. It is a dagger, it's a musical instrument, and it's a pretty good doorstop if you need to use it that way. But it was a unique weapon because it was used to summon the Dragon Zord, and rather than go inside the Dragon Zord, which showed up only once, I think Tommy went on the Dragon Zord once, but you actually controlled the Dragon Zord from the outside. It always annoyed me that Tommy lost his powers and then turned into the White Ranger and then never really had his own Zord for the Thunder Zord era. I thought it would always be cool if Tommy got Tor as like the new Dragon Zord and then you brought in a new person to play the White Ranger. But, I mean, hey, I get a Sentai footage. But we're not talking about that right now. The Dragon Dagger was the primary weapon used by the Green Ranger. It was his bread and butter. And it was also used by Jason, the Red Ranger. At one point, Tommy gave Jason his powers, so Jason could summon the Dragon Dagger, the Dragon's Shield, as well as all the funny add-ons, and his Morphoton Gold, and he could summon the Dragon Zord. It made Jason incredibly powerful, because he had the powers of both the Green Ranger and the Red Ranger. But, for the most part, this was Tommy's weapons, his, again, bread and butter. Short-range, melee weapon, and although it was short-range, it was incredibly powerful, and the damage that was done with this was ridiculous. Not just that, but this was a great adaptive weapon that could function with other power weapons in various ways. When Tommy was evil, he had the Sword of Darkness, which I want a legacy item of that. But with the buying of Hasbro, I don't know if that's going to keep on happening. But the Sword of Darkness was used often with the Dragon Dagger to shoot out balls of energy, or to shoot out lightning, or to various different projectile effects, and when Jason used it with his power sword, he could heat both of them up at the same time to a final finisher maneuver. So it was a good weapon to use in conjunction with other weapons. Actually, to note that, one time I think Kimberly actually took this back and shot it off her bow, which is incredibly silly, but I mean, in the scheme of Power Rangers, maybe not that silly. But most notably, the Dragon Dagger was known for his ability to summon the Dragon Zord, because it could be used as a flute. You can play various different songs, and those songs would activate different things. For example, if you play the standard Dragon Zord song, the March of the Dragon Zord, it will make the Dragon Zord rise up from the sea, and you can control them in various different ways. You can use the Dragon Dagger also to activate the Dragon Shield, which reflects all projectiles back at an opponent. So if you're using an energy ball, it reflects back at it. And then we also know if you play the song in a certain way, it can shoot energy lightning coming out from the ground. This was seen in Fighting Spirits, though, while Tommy was in coma, so the canonicity of that is kind of up in the air. Did he just dream that? Well, if he did dream it, I mean, it's not like Tommy would make up something in his dream. It's probably something the Green Ranger could do. But with that said, this is a great weapon to use in combat, and again, one of the most iconic weapons in all the Power Rangers. And for the item itself, you turn it on right here, and it's gorgeous. It just looks perfect like the Dragon Dagger. The backside, though, you have all the kibble for like the screws and to open it up, and for the sound effects. But the front side is absolutely gorgeous, and of course, die-cast metal all through and through. Mine has a few nicks here and there, but nothing noticeable, nothing you'll see on the actual camera. And mostly by pressing the flute instrument buttons here, we'll do various different stuff. So if you want to swipe, there we go. It will activate the swiping effect. So pretty fun. But what really is good is if you press down this button, most notably with your lips, it plays the Dragon Zord sounds as well as the Power Ranger theme song. So it has some really cool sound effects to it. Most importantly, it's the Dragon Zord song. Beautifully well done. This is, I think, a must-have for all Legacy collectors. It's probably a little bit more expensive right now because, well, it's older. It's been a while since it's been out, a couple of years, but really great Legacy item. So let's transition onwards to the next one, and that would be Saba. Now we're talking about my boy Saba here. Saba was the sole weapon of the White Ranger, and of all the Power Ranger weapons, he was unique because he was a sentient item. Yes, Saba could talk and walk and do all the fun stuff a sentient weapon can do. Actually, not walk, because it doesn't have legs, but he can float in the air, right? Saba is a sword, which is basically in the design of a Chinese broadsword, which also has a head of a tiger, which is Saba's head. And Saba could do a lot of stuff, right? Not only was he used for melee combat, but his eyes could shoot lasers out of it, and in addition to that, he can be used to plug into the Tiger Zord, and I don't know if I would really say it's control, but maybe symbiotic with the Tiger Zord, and also with Tommy, because Tommy would give him orders, be like, Saba, make the Tiger Zord mimic my maneuvers, and then he'd be like, okay, Tommy, and he would have his snotty remarks. Unfortunately, Saba kind of stopped talking after a while. He was really only used much in Season 2. Season 3, you never heard the guy talk. Ironically, though, he's the only power weapon that showed up from the TV series that also showed up in the movie. If you guys know the movie, which, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about because I have so much mixed feelings on it. Saba was the only power weapon that actually showed up. Saba could also be used and thrown at people too, but not too often. He was thrown at Lord Zed to destroy Lord Zed's staff temporarily, but that's about it. And with that said, let's talk about Saba, the figure itself. Again, very accurate to the actual weapon that was used in the TV show, right? And I'll do this side because you don't have all the kibble on there. Saba has some good stuff going for him. One, the sword itself can be holstered, but the blade can be extended, right? So, again, he's based off a Chinese broadsword, a little shorter, but it really has this nice curvy design to him. And not just that, but he has a bunch of different functionalities. So you can press this on button here, and this is what's cool. This is what's really cool. Ready? lights up in its mouth. It talks too.
Activate the Tiger Sword. Wait, Tiger Sword. Tiger mode. Battle ready now. Oh, that was most impressive. I'm having difficulty getting through to the Red Ranger. I think you need a bit more power.
So he has all these different things he can say. And then, yeah, I think he makes swiping noise. No, he doesn't. I thought he did. The only thing I can say about this, and this is probably, I hate to say, my least favorite of Legacy items, is it just looks so, how can I say? I get it, you have to do that because you need to fit the blade in, but it makes this feel like a toy. That, and I never really liked the handle part here for Saba. I really love the blade and how it came out, and I love the head. But I'm sorry, dude, I didn't mean to insult you. But I was never a fan of this right here, making it look like the White Ranger's battle shield. We'll say that. Tiger shield? I don't know, it never really had a name. His outfit. I never really cared for that. It's still a good looking item. I don't know if I would say it's a must buy, but if you're a big White Ranger fan, of course, pick it up. So with that said, let's move on to the next big one. Now we're talking about my favorite, which would be the Power Sword. Not necessarily favorite in the actual Legacy item itself and the quality or the functionality of it as a collector's item, although I'll get into that a little bit later, but my favorite Power Ranger weapon of all time. I mean, there's no denying that Jason is my favorite Power Ranger, right? And I love swords. They're my favorite kind of weapon, outside your hands and your feet. And the Power Sword is a beautiful, beautiful looking sword, right? And I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea. This is an amazing Legacy item, and the one I wanted the most, right? So I'm super happy. And I guess it's my favorite quality-wise. The only thing I could, and I'll get into a little bit more, is the blade. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but the Legacy Power Sword is still a fantastic collector's item. But the Power Sword was the primary weapon of Jason, the leader of the Power Ranger, the Red Ranger. And it was an incredibly powerful razor-edge sword that was used to, well, cut people up. Jason used this more than anything for his repertoire of weapons outside of actual hand-to-hand combat. It was funny. It was kind of commented because Tommy used it once. It was commented by Tommy, "Hey, you're more athletic than I am, and you can run up the hill faster, but I'm better with a sword. So how about you run up the hill and I'll use the sword?" And then Tommy uses the sword and he just shoots a laser at it. I mean, makes no sense. But the Power Sword is a very well-known Power Ranger weapon that is used by the Red Ranger, and it was seen a lot. This is one of the few Power Ranger weapons that, or power weapons, that was seen in Season 2 more than a handful of times. I think most notably was when Jason threw it at the lipstick monster, I forget her name, and got her a scar on her face, which is one of the things I love about this weapon. This is one of the best melee weapons, and it's arguably one of the best swords that was used in Power Rangers. And that's not just me playing favoritism, that's actual fact. The Power Sword is an incredibly powerful melee weapon, but Jason had a habit of throwing it at people. He threw it at Tommy, he threw it at the lipstick monster. I mean, he's just throwing it left and right, which is a funny thing to do. But it's also a good weapon to use in conjunction with other weapons, most notably with the Dragon Dagger. Jason would use it for final attacks with the Dragon Dagger in various different ways, but as I just mentioned, Tommy would always use it as to enhance his projectile ability with Dragon Dagger. So it could be used in conjunction with other weapons pretty nicely. And of course, it is the final piece to the power cannon, which is when the Rangers put all their weapons together, it creates a power cannon. Now, in talking about the ultimate fate of the Power Sword, it's kind of up in the air. Now, if you remember, Jason transferred his powers onto Rocky, and then subsequently the powers were destroyed. The Power Sword was never really used by the Ninjetin coins, the ninja coins, and the last we really saw of it was used up in display in the power chamber during Zeal. However, Jason got his powers back in Forever Red, and there's a long story of how that happened. My theory is he never lost the powers. Rocky only had a copy of it, right? Makes sense, too, because if Jason had a copy, had the main coin, and Rocky had a copy, that explains the hiccup of why you couldn't have Austin St. John in the scene for the power transfer. There were 2 Red Rangers, 2 Black Rangers, 2 Yellow Rangers. and then his coin was disconnected from the power grid. Thus, remember, too much pink energy could be a bad thing, too much red energy could be a bad thing too. And when Rocky's coin was destroyed, Jason's wasn't connected to the morphing grid, thus it wasn't destroyed. Again, that's headcanon. There's no canonicity to it. But fact is, we know Jason does get his power coin back in some way, shape, or form and becomes the Red Ranger in Forever Red, and subsequently is the Red Ranger in the Legacy War, which was a terrible episode, but he was using the Power Sword in the Legacy War. So, while the weapon was seen to be lost in limbo, Jason still has it 20 years later. So, a little fun history about that. And like I said, this is my favorite Power Ranger weapon, and my favorite Legacy item. I don't know if it's the best. I might give that to the Dragon Dagger. I might give that to the Blade Blaster. But the main reason is if you look at it, it has a great design. It looks just like the Red Ranger's sword. Only thing is the die cast is not in the blade. This is kind of a, I don't want to say foam, but it is kind of foam. It's like a loose, hard foam. It's like a loose plastic or flimsy plastic or hard foam. It's not badly constructed. This is good. Like, it doesn't wiggle. Like, this is good. You just can't whack things with it, right? You're not going to be playing around with it like you would with those lightsabers. But it is a still beautifully crafted. I love the fact that it has the sword designs in there, the designs on the blade. You got the Red Ranger power coin in the center here, or at least a reminiscent of it, which was on the actual item itself. And then you turn it on right here, and then it makes various different noises. Now, there's a way to get the actual Power Ranger song on, but I don't know how to. I know if you hit them all together, it makes another noise, but there's a way to get the actual Power Ranger song on there. At least I think there is, but I don't know how to do it. But I love this. This is my favorite Legacy item and my favorite weapon in Power Rangers. I know I said that a million times because Jason's my favorite Ranger, but it's still beautiful. I love the wing-like design here. Absolutely gorgeous. Moving on to the last Legacy item. Now on to the Golden Power Staff. Now, the Golden Power Staff is the only Zeo item that we have here, and it belonged to the Gold Zeo Ranger, although I don't like using that tone because it's not actually the Gold Zeo Ranger. Although popular products label Trey and Jason as the Gold Zeo Ranger, and if you talk about the Zeo team, you call it the Gold Zeo Ranger, he was actually not a Zeo Ranger. The Gold Ranger powers are based off Triforian technology, so technically he would be the Gold Triforian Ranger. Yes, all the weapons and Zords and everything line up with the Zeo Zords and the Zeo weapons, but he was in fact a separate power source. So, with that said, and that little rant going onwards, the Gold Ranger powers are without a doubt one of the most powerful Ranger powers ever created. So powerful that a human can't really keep them that long. Jason, who arguably is one of the greatest Rangers of all time, I always consider Jason and Tommy equals, right? In their greatness as Rangers. I consider them the two best equal. If one of the best Rangers of all time, one of the best, cannot hold on to the Gold Ranger powers because they're so powerful, it just shows you how powerful the Gold Ranger was. Had to go back to Trey because his physiology was able to handle it a lot better. The Gold Ranger powers were also one of the most sought-after powers. Rather than just, Zed and Rita wanted the powers. With the Green Ranger powers, they just simply wanted to destroy them. They actually wanted to add the Gold Ranger powers to their own arsenal because, it was so powerful. The Power Staff kind of exemplifies that, right? The Power Staff was used by Trey at Triforia, and afterwards Jason Lee Scott, the former Red Ranger who came back to become the Gold Ranger and take over the powers while Trey was injured. And the Power Staff had various different functionalities. It was used as a melee weapon, a ranged weapon, a bludgeon weapon, and a bladed weapon, right? Not always seen in the show, but that's what it was. So the Power Staff actually extends out like that, right? And you have the melee weapon portion, which is you got the blade here, which can be used for bladed attacks, right? You're hitting someone like that. Or you have the actual staff itself that can be used like a mace to hit people like so. Again, slicing and bludgeon. And then finally, and I don't have the batteries in this, so I'm sorry, you could activate the actual staff and shoot balls of energy out at people. This could also be used in conjunction for various other things, along with the Gold Ranger, on summoning Titanus, and used actually as the morpher itself, because the Gold Ranger didn't have a morpher. The staff was the morpher. As long as you have the staff, you can turn into the Gold Ranger. If you notice, whenever Jason morphed, he didn't go Zeo Ranger number 6, Gold. He would go Gold Ranger power, and boom. And was pretty damn cool. But the actual staff allows you to morph. And you need to go through a ritual in order to transfer the powers. So just because you have the staff doesn't mean you have to have the powers. You have to have the previous user of the powers transfer the powers over to you. This was done only twice-ish. It was used by Trey to transfer the powers onto Billy, who unfortunately couldn't take the powers because of what happened to him in the season finale of Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was used on Jason to give him the Gold Ranger powers, and in theory, a ceremony was used to transfer the powers back to Trey. But yeah, the Gold Ranger powers were amazing. As I said multiple times before, Jason's my favorite Ranger, and Red Ranger is my favorite version of him. He had my favorite weapons, and Red's my favorite color, but I love the Gold Ranger. I think it would have been more fitting for Billy to have the powers, right? Because he kind of got screwed out of it, and poor David Yost was mistreated on the show. But I also love the fact that Jason got it, because he's my favorite Ranger. So, and he was badass with it. The song Go Gold Ranger was badass too, and the power staff was badass also. Unfortunately, I can't show you all the functionalities of the power staff, but as a legacy weapon, everything here is gorgeous, everything here is gorgeous, everything in the center is not, right? This is really it's plastic, it's sturdy, right? But I don't trust it, right? I don't trust this is going to stay together too well, but it is absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite legacy items, and I debated getting it, but with Toys R Us going out of business and this going for a shit ton online, I'd rather just drop the dime and buy it myself. And you know what the thing is every year I buy a present for myself for my birthday, mostly because, I spoil myself. I think I'm a good person. I haven't killed anyone yet. I haven't done anything bad. I tolerate people. I'm a good person. So I deserve one thing a year from me that is totally guilt-free. And this was my present to me this year. And it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I know I've said that a million times, but if you get an opportunity to see this in Toys R Us, get it. And that's usually where you get the legacy items. I haven't found them anywhere else. So if you find this, get it. You find the Power Sword, get it, because I know that's still out there. I know the Zeonizers are out there, but I haven't been able to pick one up lately because they're like $100 even on sale. So I don't think it's worth it. I love Zeo, but not that much. But this is a great item, definitely worth getting. And all the legacy items are worth getting. The only one I'm not a big fan of is the Saba, but besides that, they're all gorgeous and ultimately, I would like to see more coming out of Hasbro because they bought Power Rangers. I would love to see the rest of the power weapons, such as the axe, the bow, the daggers, the lance. But it would really be cool to see the Sword of Darkness used by the Green Ranger. That would be really cool. Or some of the Zeo sidearms, or even the Zeo Ranger weapons like the shield, the sword, the nunchucks, the axe, and various other stuff. But I wouldn't mind seeing them go a little bit further out, like a Quantum Defender, right? I wouldn't mind to see some Time Force weapons, maybe some weapons later on. I thought that Dino Thunder had some cool weapons. It would really be cool to get a Rhino Morpher from Jungle Fury. That would be awesome. Although I'm not a big fan of Mystic Force, their wands were pretty cool, so it'd be cool to get one of those. Like, there's so many different things that they could do for the legacy and keep it going, because for adult collectors, these are great. They're great. And they're great for cosplaying, too, but they're just great items. And I guess the last big item is I wouldn't mind them doing a Dragon Shield as a legacy item. That would be pretty cool. Of the legacy items, I have all of them except for the Zeonizer and the Green Ranger helmet. I did not get the Green Ranger helmet because I'm not going to drop the money for it. I have the Red Ranger helmet. I love Tommy, but I'm not that much in love with him. I love Jason more. And the Zeonizer, like I said, is pretty penny, so I may not go with it. But I just got the Ninja coins, which are pretty cool. I should show you guys my pictures of all my coins. But yeah, this is more or less about the legacy weapons. And I love them. They're some of my favorite collectibles. So with that said, I'm going to end this video here. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.